What do you think of the RFK Jr. independent campaign and the Democrats' relentless attacks on him?
He's extremely liberal. He's more liberal than anybody. He's more liberal than the Green Party.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is increasingly looking like he is worse for Donald Trump than he is for Joe Biden in this forthcoming election. And Donald Trump reportedly knows that, despite what it is that he's saying in public. But it does explain why Donald Trump is now going right after RFK Jr. as a liberal and a leftist. Let's back up a little bit. Some time ago, it was conventional wisdom that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s independent candidacy for president hurts Biden more than it hurts Trump. And the original reason was Kennedy is part of a historically Democratic family. He's known as coming out of the Democratic Party. He initially ran a primary against Biden in the Democratic Party. He hurts Biden more than he hurts Trump. Over time, as it became clear that his areas of focus aligned him more with Trumpist stuff about the deep state and vaccines and so on than they do with Biden, and eventually Robert F. Kennedy Jr. exited the Democratic primary and said, I'm running as an independent, things shifted. The pendulum swung towards the idea that actually it may be Trump who is hurt more than Biden by Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s candidacy. And then it sort of swung back as the polling seemed to help. When you included Robert F. Kennedy, it seemed to help Trump by a couple points. The pendulum is again swinging back as the polling now increasingly suggests, no, it may actually be worse for Trump than for Biden that RFK Jr. is running. So let's look at this piece by piece. Here is Donald Trump during a recent interview starting to go right after RFK Jr. as a real extreme leftist. And the reason he's doing this is he doesn't want his own supporters to think that RFK might be a viable alternative to Trump. And part of the way that he did that on John Frederick's radio show Monday is to say he's far, far, far left. Not a good alternative to me.
What do you think of the RFK Jr. independent campaign and the Democrats' relentless attacks on him?
Well, I think he's a nice guy. I've known him. He's extremely liberal. He's more liberal than anybody. He's more liberal than the Green Party. And so I don't know. I would imagine he'd not be good for them. But you don't know how that plays out. He gets a certain, not many points, but he gets some. But they say he hurts Biden. I'm not sure that that's true. I think he probably hurts both. But he might hurt Biden a little bit more. You don't know. But he's got, not a lot of points, but maybe enough points to make a difference one way or the other. But he's a very liberal guy.
So this is Trump acknowledging it's a little dicey. It's not clear who he helps and hurts more, but extreme liberal, far, far left liberal. If you're a MAGA or a MAGAPotamian, this is not a guy that you should be considering. Now, the way that the polling is increasingly looking is not good for Trump when it comes to the RFK factor. Let's look at a couple of these examples. There's a very interesting recent Marist College poll. In the Marist College poll, when it's Biden versus Trump, Biden has a 3-point lead. When you add Kennedy and the other third-party candidates, Biden's lead grows from 3 to 5. There are a few other polls like this, although not all of them point in the same way. For example, there's an Emerson College poll. When it's head-to-head, it's Trump +3. Adding the third-party candidates pushes Trump to +4. So Trump gains a point in the Emerson College poll. The point here is it is very, very much unclear. It's an open question where this is going to go. And if you're Trump and the margins are expected to be small and it's expected to come down to just a couple of a few states and a few 100,000 votes, you should be scared. Now, there is another interesting report from NBC News called Trump Says RFK Jr. Will Hurt Biden. In private, he's not so sure. What this article reports is that, quote, behind closed doors, Trump is less sure. A Republican who was in the room with Trump this year as he reviewed polling said Trump was unsure how Kennedy would affect the race, asking the other people on hand whether or not Kennedy was actually good for his candidacy. So Trump knows that there is definitely the potential here that RFK could cost him the election. Now, let's step back and think about this in a few different ways. Is in a general sense, there is no path for RFK to become president. When you hear from his advisors, they dream up these impossible scenarios where RFK wins California. If you've looked at the California polling, In order for RFK to win California with the smallest possible margin, he would need to take roughly a third of the support from Biden and half of the support from Trump to get to that 34% minimum he would need. Remember, you can win a state 34 to 33 to 33. That would be like the minimum margin for RFK. And so for him to get from where he is now in California to that, he would need to take roughly a third of Biden and half of Trump's support, or vice versa, something along those lines. It's not going to happen. So once you acknowledge the impossible to deny fact that the next president will be Biden or Trump, unless one of them dies and is replaced on the ballot, it's going to be one of them. Then you realize if you vote for RFK or Jill Stein or Cornel West or stay home, you are making it easier for Trump to become the next president. That's the reality. Now, on the merits, should RFK be more appealing to Democrats or to Republicans? On the merits, it is absolutely to Republicans. Trump's right to be scared, in the sense that if your worldview is more like Biden or left of that, Kennedy doesn't really offer much at all. You say, well, environmental policy. Kennedy's view on environmental policy, while he does talk about being very concerned about defending the environment, a lot of the solutions he proposes are kind of free market, right wing, low regulation sorts of ideas, which have been shown not to work. If you look at vaccines, there is some anti-vaxxerism on the left, but the bulk of it right now is on the right. And RFK Jr. is certainly placating and kowtowing to that more Trumpian anti-vax group. When you look at the Israel-Gaza issue, where there are some on the left who say, I don't like the way Biden's handled this. He hasn't been tough enough on Israel, and I want someone tougher on Israel. If you've heard Trump or RFK Jr. talk about the Israel-Gaza issue, they're not going to be tougher on Israel. They're going to be more lax when it comes to Israel. So if that is your concern, there is also no real reason to support RFK over Biden. So in practice, thinking pragmatically, thinking realistically, of course, no Democrats should be interested in the Kennedy candidacy, and it should really only appeal to Trump people. However, the Kennedy name, combined with the fact that at one point he ran in a Democratic primary against Biden, combined with the fact that there are some angry people on the left who aren't really thinking, wait a second, Kennedy's even further from my politics. Why would I go from Biden to Kennedy if I think Biden's not left enough? Why would I go to, it doesn't make it, some of them are doing it. So it should hurt Trump. I don't know that it will ultimately turn out that way. It is time to start thinking like voters and to make sure that kids understand the importance of voting, how it works, registering, ballot initiatives, because so many kids just have no idea. That's why I wrote the new children's book, Think Like a Voter. I can think of no better time and no more important group of folks to try to reach. The book is now available at davidpakman.com/book, where, by the way, you can get the first two books in the series as well. Think Like a Detective and Think Like a Scientist. Really important stuff. Donate them to local libraries, classrooms, read them with the kids. davidpakman.com/book.